doing is we're going to be changing the tire on the Apollo City. So if you have a flat, that's I'm just going to be showing you step by step how to do it. Now we do have other videos already on how to do this, but this is just live and fun, and that way I can interact with you guys. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. So really, if there's anything you need help with repair-wise, it doesn't even have to be about this repair, it can be about any repair. Just drop them like in the comments or whatever, that way I can see it and I can answer while I'm doing it. Or something specific that I'm doing for here. Pour ceux qui nous rejoignent, qui sont au Québec, je parle français aussi, donc si vous avez des questions en français, n'hésitez pas, ou s'il y a quelque chose que vous ne comprenez pas, que vous voulez que je dise en français, dites-moi, et ça sera ok comme ça aussi. Alright, we're going to get started. So what do we need for this repair? First off, a 4mm Allen key, a Phillips screwdriver, your pump to pump back your tire, a new inner tube, because this is probably where the flat happened, and an 18mm wrench. So let's get started. First off, we're just going to disconnect the cable, the motor cable that's back here. So disconnect. And how it should be with yours is that you should have a small metal piece here that uses a Phillips screwdriver to undo. I don't have this on ours, we lost ours, but so we hold it with a cable tie, so I'm just cutting this. But on yours, it's going to be like a small clip that's held with a Phillips screw. So you can just use that to undo it. It's the only part where you need the Phillips screwdriver. Next, we're going to remove the brake line that's back here. So we're just going to remove this, just kind of push forward. You'll see that it, like with the spring, and you can undo by turning anti-clockwise here. Remove this small screw. Completely. Then you can remove the cable, so you can kind of pull it, and as you'll see, that's how the cable just comes out. Pull it through, and let's just remove the spring and this small bit here too, just that way those three components are aside and you don't want to lose them. Just put them on the side here. Next, we'll remove this screw here. This screw holds the brake pads and everything in place. So I'll remove that. There we go. See. Now that that's off, we can start actually removing the wheel from the tire. This is where we use our 18mm wrench and go anti-clockwise. I'm just going to loosen both sides before removing it completely. There we go. And there you should be able to do it by hand. If not, just keep going with the wrench. You guys can see that this city has been quite used, even in our snowy conditions here. And you'll see that the locking washer usually is kind of like stuck a bit, so you can use the wrench or anything to kind of remove it. Now you guys can see it's free. Same thing on the other side. There we go. Now that it's free, this should slide out perfectly. There we go. Now, I'm using a piece of cardboard, or you can use anything you have if you're going to be putting it on the deck of the scooter, just to protect it. And we're going to remove the nut. So we're going to go on this side. This is where all the screws are. We're going to remove the nut that's on top here. You might have to hold on the other side, that way it doesn't twist. Get the locking washer off, and the brake pads off too. If that doesn't come out, it's not the end of the world. It's not 100% necessary. That great. Let me see if I can get it out. Okay, that's not going out. That's all right. Not too much of a problem. It's just like easier to kind of handle everything. Yours should go out. It's just ours, as I said, has been used quite a bit. So next, we want to make sure that there's no air in the tire left. So just use something small to kind of pinch it through and get the rest of the air out. You really want it to be completely flat, because you don't want to have any pressure on those rims. Alright, and next use a 4mm Allen key to undo the screws that are there. So there should be 6 of them. You guys can see there's one missing there. I'm going to show that too much. And here we go. Let's kind of clean this up a bit. Now you want to make sure when you're putting the Allen keys in, which is why that it's really going in fully. Which is why now if there's a bit of dirt inside, that everything is clean. That way it can really go in, because that's how you're going to strip those screws. And so here. There we go. This one is loose. Just get another one here. Go. And one last one.
Someone wants to know what to do if a screw is stripped.
So if the screw is stripped, well, you guys can come see actually here. You see this this is actually an old screw that was stripped. So what we do is we kind of cut like a line in between here. And then I'll take like a flathead screwdriver to be able to remove it. So I should be. So this one was stripped in the past, and I just used the same one, maybe because we didn't have screws in stock when I had first replaced or done this. This was probably done like months ago. But yeah, that's what you should do. Sometimes what helps too, before undoing the screws, is putting like a lubricant of some sort, like a like Jigaloo or something, or even WD-40. Just in between the screws, and it kind of helps loosen them, and that way it's not too tight. But the trick usually really is to make sure that your Allen key is really like in that screw. What's nice with the City too is that since the wheel is completely removable, it's much easier to get it like repaired somewhere too. Like if you do need to bring it to a repair center, like just to get the tire changed, or if you strip the screw and you want someone else to help you get it off. Much easier to bring just the wheel than like the whole scooter. That's one out.
Someone wants to know how long you've been doing scooter repairs.
I started think I started here like end of April last year, and then that's when I started doing the scooter repairs specifically. But otherwise, just like repairs and mechanics in general, kind of always. So my dad actually, he sells boat engines from where I come from. So he's like very like mechanic, and you know we've always had like a big garage at home and that kind of stuff. So, so that's kind of like where I got it from, and like I've just been doing it. And but like scooters specifically, I'd say so 8. That's like what, nearly a year now. Like next month it will be a year that I've been working here and doing this. So there you go. It's a little tight. Just use it this way. The tightness of this is definitely because I put a bunch of Loctite when doing it, which is good. Finally, this last one that was stripped before. So if ever you do have to do that and you have a way of cutting this, we have like a small cutting disc. So that's how we're able to do it, but I don't think anyone, the average person, would just have that at home. But yeah, and sometimes what you can do is like, since we're here, I'm just gonna show you, we have time, so. Sometimes what I do is I take sort of a bigger Allen key, and so let's say if it's stripped, what I do is I take the bigger one, but that's when you first notice that it's stripped, right? Like when you, like you're seeing that, you're feeling that it's gonna get stripped, so you don't want to strip it too much. That way it's still maybe like savable. And like, so I put the bigger Allen key on it, so like a really big one, and then I tap it with a hammer like a few times. And then so it would kind of make the edges kind of come back in, right? So to kind of take the shape again. And that way when I put the Allen key, but this time when you put the Allen key in again, like use a hammer or something and just like tap it in. That way it stays strong, and then you turn. So that's just like the way that I do it. And then if it's worst comes to worst, that's when I use the cutting disc. Alright, there we go. All the screws out. Now we can remove the tire from here. So you kind of want to push. So I usually put like my 2 thumbs on in the center here, and then hold with the rest of my fingers and just kind of push it out. You'll see it might be a bit of a struggle, but it'll slowly come. Nice. Okay. So now that that's out, let's put the motor here. Get the rim off too. So same thing, you might have to pull it. You guys can see it's really dirty, so good thing I have some cleaning stuff, so I'm gonna clean it while I'm here. There we go. Pulled it out. And this is the old tire, which you would see was actually coming in like in between this and the next, and the same thing here, which I'll show you when we put it back on. While I'm at it, let me just give a quick clean to that rim. For more details on like how to clean your scooter and that kind of stuff, we actually have like a very cool video that Randy put up, and with Sean, just some very cool like is it like 80s, 70s vibe?
80s.
80s. Very, very cool, and very fun to watch too. So if you guys just for like regular like cleaning, maintaining, that you should kind of do every once in a while. Like, to be honest, the scooter is not a good example of what we should have done with it. But hey, we're all human, right? So I'll get the old inner tube off, and I'll get the new one in. So, which direction to put the inner tube in? So, we can see here, that's on this side of the tire. Where's the small arrow? Okay, there we go. The drive and the arrow. So this shows the orientation that the tire should be with the wheel and the scooter. Like this, good. And so, or if there isn't an arrow, but usually the arrow is like the good and easy way. But otherwise, the threads, you can kind of see that they're kind of pointing forwards, right? Like they kind of look like they're going forwards. Like this would just look going backwards, right? So this is the side. So whichever side the drive side is on, and so this is how it's going to go on. We want the I guess like the nozzle to pump the inner tube back up. We want it on the same side as the brakes, right? As you can see, this is how it's going to go in. So the brakes are on the right side, so I'm going to put it on this side this way. That way it's coming out of the tire. And actually, before doing that, maybe just check inside that there isn't something that's still stuck there. Because if you got a flat because of a nail that went in, there's very likely that the nail is still in. So just kind of put your finger around the inside. That way you're sure that nothing's wrong with it, and once everything's good, you can put it back in. Get the inner tube back. Now that it's in, good trick I found so that we're not pinching the tires here when we're putting the rims back together is just pumping a little bit the tire, so not too much, just to kind of make it. There we go. You see now it's kind of taken its shape and it's around the tire. And it's just going to be much easier to just put everything through, basically. Now let's get this back on. So same side here. Make sure that the nozzle is coming out on the brake side and through that little like notch that's there, right? Because you'll see it's like a half, like a semicircle. And this is where the nozzle goes through. And same thing here, we're going to match the semicircle that's on the other side of the rim. And get a match here. And there we go, should be good. Now kind of push down, make sure everything fits. Everything on the right side. Once it is, you can start putting your screws back on. Okay, so usually here, we should be putting Loctite back on. We don't have the Loctite with us, but you should be putting Loctite on. That's usually like the best practice, because even if you tighten like fully, you never know with all the vibrations. It's always better to put some Loctite on. So I'm just kind of placing the screws in here. I'm not going to tighten anything just yet. And ideally, you're gonna go kind of like a star or like a cross pattern. So you go on one side, then you go on the other, then you go on the other side, and you kind of match each one after the other. That's just when you're placing, and you're gonna do the same thing when tightening too. It's just gonna be easier to have everything aligned and making sure that you're actually getting both rims in straight on both sides. Like you don't want like one side going in more than the other. And that also one that was stripped. If you had stripped one, and you know, you can just ask, and like you want new ones, like I'm sure you can get those at like any, like Home Depot or really any hardware store.
Should you use red or blue Loctite?
Blue. Blue preferably, just because the red one is going to be way too hard for you to remove it. Like, if you use red, you're like 90% sure that you're gonna strip the screws. So blue is like enough, and honestly more than enough, especially for like a scooter. Like, you know, it vibrates a lot, but it's not like an engine or something like that, which really. So now I'm starting to kind of tighten each side a bit more, but still like by hand and not using my full force. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to tighten everything fully. Now same thing, you don't want to strip the screws while you're tightening them, because though it might seem like, I guess, the best situation where you could strip a screw, but believe me, and when you'll have to do this again, if you get a flat, you won't be happy that you strip the screw again. So same thing, make sure the Allen key is really like inside that screw, inside that head before tightening, and using your force, not like halfway through, and that you're actually like using a good position with your hand when you're tightening. There we go. Okay, nice. Now that we've got the screws in, we can start pumping back our tire. Now, ideal tire pressure is 50 psi. So ideally, you should have like a pump that can actually measure it. I was actually can actually set it in advance, so. There we go. If you still have your protection cap, you can put it back on. And we'll put back the tire. Now on this right side here, there is a washer that goes in first, and then the locking washer and the nut that goes in at the end. So let's put it through. You'll see that a side of that it's not like circular. You'll see that there's two flat sides, and so here. So we'll do that now don't worry about this. We're going to adjust this after. So when you put it in, that washer, I want it to be on the other side. You might have to kind of pull apart the arms. And now it should be good. And I'll put the washer here. If you have Loctite at home, like you can put more Loctite on this side too. This is not as important as the screws, but you can do that too just to be extra safe. Now don't tighten fully just yet, because we also want to align this hole where we're going to be screwing it in here, right? And so that screw, we're aligning it again, and that's using the same 4mm Allen key. This one you can tighten. You don't need to tighten too much, just like tight, I guess, not that super tight. And now we can start tightening fully our nuts on the side here that are holding the wheel. Use the 18mm wrench. There we go. Don't hesitate to really tighten this like a lot. That's what the washers are for. There we go. Let's get the brake back on. So we'll put the cable through here. Then we'll get our spring, which goes through here, and we'll get this small bit that goes in through first, and you'll see that there's a hole, and that hole, there we go, that hole is where the brake line goes through. So you might have to kind of play around with it. There we go. To get in, if it went out on this side, I can just put it back. Push through, tighten this back. And this, either if you remember kind of like the space, or you can kind of try it out how much you want. Like just spin the wheel, press on your brakes, and if it's tight enough, then you're good. If you want it tighter, you can screw in clockwise, less tight, anti-clockwise. And finally, we can put the motor cable back together. Now make sure that the arrows align when you're putting it back. Let's get you to see the two arrows here. Because if you don't, if you try to do it another way, you might break this, and that's going to be another hassle. Put it back, and you'd usually have your small screw, your small clip to put back here. I have another cable tie, which I'll put around. Cut this, make it nice and clean. And there we go, guys. We've changed our tire on the Apollo City. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed the live. Thanks for asking those questions. It's nice. If you guys have any more questions that you have, don't hesitate to ask them or reach out to our support team. We're here to help. Let us know what you think of all those live videos. Also, if you want more repair videos, let us know what you need or what you feel you might need too. And yeah, we'll see what we'll do for next week's live.